Welcome to Fall Asleep Channel. Tonight we explore our small friends, cats, a calm narrative with interesting facts. If you enjoy peaceful stories like this, you are warmly invited to subscribe and return whenever you need to slow down. Now allow yourself to get comfortable and enjoy quiet and pleasant rest. Let's begin. Movement defines this small predator long before sound or sight becomes relevant. The body is built around controlled motion. A flexible spine composed of more vertebrae than in the human skeleton allows compression and extension with minimal energy loss. Limbs end in retractable claws that remain protected until contact is required. This design supports silent travel and sudden acceleration. The clavicle floats rather than locking into a rigid frame, allowing the torso to pass through narrow openings without structural resistance. Weight is carried on the digits, not the soles, reducing ground contact and improving precision. Balance emerges from continuous micro-adjustments coordinated by the vestibular system, which allows the body to rotate mid-air during a fall and reorient before landing. This righting response operates without conscious processing, relying on rapid sensory input and spinal reflexes. Hearing extends far beyond the range of human perception. High-frequency sensitivity allows detection of subtle movements produced by small prey beneath vegetation or soil. Each ear rotates independently, guided by muscular control that tracks sound sources in three-dimensional space. This directional hearing reduces the need for visual confirmation in low light. Vision complements this system rather than replacing it. The retina contains a high density of rod cells, enhancing sensitivity in dim conditions. Color discrimination is limited, favoring blue and green wavelengths, while fine detail at close range is reduced. Motion detection remains strong, allowing rapid identification of moving objects even when contrast is low. Reflective tissue behind the retina amplifies available light, increasing efficiency during twilight hours when activity peaks. Whiskers extend the sensory field beyond the body surface. These stiff hairs are embedded in follicles rich with nerve endings, detecting air displacement and nearby obstacles. They provide spatial information in darkness, supplementing vision when light is insufficient. Scent adds another layer of environmental sensing. The nasal cavity processes chemical cues with high sensitivity, supported by a specialized organ that analyzes pheromonal signals. Brief lip movements sometimes accompany this analysis, allowing volatile compounds to reach deeper receptors. Taste remains selective. Sweetness is absent from perception, while protein-rich compounds receive priority. The tongue itself is structured for function rather than comfort, covered in keratinized spines that assist in grooming and food processing. Drinking relies on a precise rhythmic action where the tongue briefly contacts the surface of water, lifting a column upward through inertia before the jaws close. This efficiency minimizes splash and noise. Internally, energy use follows a similar economy. Metabolism runs quickly, yet expenditure remains controlled. Food is consumed in small, frequent portions rather than large meals. Digestion proceeds rapidly through a shortened gastrointestinal tract adapted for animal protein. Certain nutrients, such as taurine, cannot be synthesized internally and must be acquired directly. Deficiency disrupts vision, cardiac function, and neurological regulation. Rest occupies a large portion of each day, but it is not uniform. Sleep occurs in short segments, interspersed with alert periods. Even during rest, sensory systems remain partially active, allowing immediate response to disturbance. Activity aligns with dawn and dusk, when light levels favor both concealment and detection. Thermal regulation relies more on behavior than physiology. Sweat glands exist primarily in the paw pads, contributing little to cooling. Instead, posture, location, and timing of activity manage heat exchange. Grooming assists by redistributing saliva across fur, enhancing evaporative cooling. The coat itself insulates while allowing airflow, adjusting with seasonal light changes rather than temperature alone. Photoperiod influences shedding cycles, aligning fur density with expected conditions. Communication within this species favors subtlety. Body posture, ear orientation, and tail position convey internal state more reliably than sound. Vocalizations occur, but they are often directed toward humans rather than conspecifics. Tone and pattern vary individually, shaped by learning rather than fixed signals. Purring arises from rhythmic activation of laryngeal muscles during breathing, producing low-frequency vibrations that occur across contexts, including rest, stress, and recovery. These vibrations coincide with frequencies associated with tissue maintenance, though no intent underlies the process. Chemical markers play a larger role in spatial organization. Glands located on the face, paws, and tail deposit scent through rubbing and scratching. These signals persist longer than sound, establishing familiarity without confrontation. Scratching also maintains claw condition and musculoskeletal health. Social structure remains flexible. These animals can live solitarily or within groups depending on resource distribution. Territories expand or contract based on food availability rather than fixed boundaries. In shared environments, quiet tolerance replaces active bonding. Conflicts are avoided when possible through spacing and timing. Learning follows associative patterns. Consistency shapes behavior more effectively than force. Memory supports spatial navigation and resource tracking, allowing rapid return to productive locations. The brain processes information selectively, filtering stimuli that lack relevance. Stress rarely manifests as overt agitation. Withdrawal, reduced activity, or changes in routine signal overload. Hiding functions as a regulatory response, not avoidance. Predictability lowers physiological strain, while sudden environmental change increases it. Play during early development refines coordination and hunting sequences. Kittens are born blind, relying initially on touch and sound. Hearing matures before vision, guiding early movement. Growth proceeds quickly, with neural circuits adapting to complex motor patterns within weeks. Maternal care remains intensive during this period, gradually decreasing as independence increases. As individuals mature, independence does not eliminate social capacity. Coexistence with humans developed gradually through mutual tolerance rather than directed domestication. Many ancestral behaviors persist, including hunting sequences that occur regardless of hunger. Movement, pursuit, and capture follow ingrained patterns that regulate arousal levels. Stillness alternates with sudden motion, conserving energy while remaining prepared. Elevated positions provide security and observational advantage, reducing perceived threat. Environmental enrichment supports this need by offering vertical space and varied textures. Throughout all of this, regulation emerges without planning. Sensing guides response. Response shapes structure. Structure constrains future action. The organism remains alert yet economical, solitary yet adaptable, shaped by light, sound, and motion as they continue to change. Activity patterns continue to follow energy rather than clock time. Cycles of movement and rest fragment the day into short segments, each shaped by internal state and external conditions. Alertness rises quickly and fades just as smoothly, allowing repeated engagement without prolonged expenditure. This pattern supports an economy of effort, where readiness matters more than endurance. Muscular systems remain tuned for brief acceleration, not sustained output. Fast twitch fibers dominate, enabling rapid leaps, sharp turns, and sudden stops. Joints absorb impact efficiently, distributing force through flexible limbs and a compliant spine. Landing rarely produces sound, a result of controlled paw placement and soft digital pads rich with nerve endings that register vibration and texture. These pads also assist in temperature sensing, providing information about surfaces before weight is fully transferred. Spatial awareness builds from this constant sensory feedback. Navigation relies on memory of pathways, heights, and safe retreats rather than exploration for its own sake. Familiar routes reduce uncertainty and energy cost. Orientation remains precise even in low light, supported by motion-sensitive vision and auditory cues that define space beyond direct sight. Proximity matters. Objects are assessed not by size alone, but by distance and movement. Stillness often indicates safety. Motion demands attention. Arousal rises in response to unpredictability, then settles once patterns repeat. Feeding behavior reflects this same regulation. Meals remain small and frequent, aligning intake with immediate metabolic needs. Appetite responds to availability rather than schedule. Digestion proceeds quickly, extracting nutrients efficiently from animal tissue while leaving little capacity for plant matter. Fiber plays a minimal role, and excess carbohydrate offers little benefit. Water intake remains modest, shaped by ancestral adaptation to arid environments. Hydration often comes indirectly through food rather than direct drinking. When water is consumed, the distinctive lapping motion conserves effort and minimizes exposure. Internal chemistry depends on specific compounds that cannot be produced independently. Taurine supports retinal function, cardiac rhythm, and neural stability. Without it, systems degrade despite adequate caloric intake. Vitamin A and certain fatty acids follow similar constraints, reinforcing strict carnivory. Physiology reflects this specialization at every level. Circulation remains efficient. Heart rate exceeds that of humans, supporting rapid oxygen delivery during brief exertion. Respiration adjusts quickly, increasing with activity and slowing during rest. Thermal balance favors conservation. Heat is retained through fur and posture, released primarily through behavior rather than sweat. Stretching elongates muscle fibers and redistributes blood flow, preparing the body for sudden demand. These stretches occur frequently, maintaining flexibility and circulation without strain. Grooming occupies a significant portion of waking time. The tongue's barbed surface removes loose hair, aligns fur, and spreads oils that maintain insulation and skin health. This behavior also contributes to regulation by reducing ectoparasites and maintaining sensory clarity. Excessive grooming may appear under stress, reflecting shifts in internal balance rather than intent. Vocal output remains limited. Sound is used sparingly, often in contexts involving humans. Pitch and pattern vary widely between individuals, shaped by experience rather than fixed species calls. Among conspecifics, silence dominates. Posture communicates state more efficiently than noise. Tail position, ear angle, and body tension provide immediate information about arousal and readiness. Freezing precedes escalation, offering an opportunity for avoidance. Conflict resolution favors distance over confrontation. Territorial behavior follows similar principles. Space is defined by use rather than ownership. Core areas receive repeated attention, while peripheral zones remain flexible. Overlap occurs where resources allow. Scent marking maintains familiarity, reducing the need for direct interaction. Chemical cues persist in the environment, allowing assessment without presence. Scratching reinforces these markers while conditioning muscles and claws. Social organization adapts to density. Solitary living prevails where resources scatter. Group tolerance emerges where food concentrates. Colonies form without rigid hierarchy, structured instead by timing and spacing. Cooperative behavior remains limited, but coexistence proves stable under predictable conditions. Reproduction aligns with environmental cues. Photoperiod influences hormonal regulation, coordinating breeding with seasons that support offspring survival. Development proceeds rapidly. Newborns arrive with closed eyes and limited mobility, dependent on tactile and auditory input. Hearing matures first, guiding early orientation. Vision follows, refining coordination as movement increases. Play emerges as structured rehearsal. Chasing, pouncing, and grappling refine motor patterns and timing. These activities consume energy but yield long-term efficiency. Maternal investment remains high initially, then tapers as independence strengthens. Learning continues through observation and repetition rather than instruction. Memory supports this process. Locations associated with food, shelter, or threat remain encoded with precision. Recall favors relevance. Information that no longer predicts outcome fades. This selective retention reduces cognitive load. The brain processes sensory input continuously, but commits only what proves useful. Stress alters this balance. Unpredictable change elevates vigilance and suppresses exploration. Routine restores stability. Hiding provides relief by limiting sensory input. Elevated positions offer similar benefit, expanding visual range while reducing perceived vulnerability. Vertical space supports regulation by allowing control over distance. Interaction with humans fits within this adaptive framework. Domestication unfolded through proximity rather than control. Tolerance preceded attachment. Many ancestral behaviors remain unchanged. Hunting sequences persist even in the absence of hunger, serving as regulation of arousal rather than food acquisition. Success or failure matters less than execution. Stillness alternates with motion, conserving energy while maintaining readiness. Across all contexts, behavior reflects adjustment rather than choice. Sensing guides response. Response modifies state. State shapes future sensitivity. No directive governs the process. Coherence emerges from repetition and constraint. Activity rises and settles. Attention narrows and widens. Movement and rest exchange roles. The system remains balanced through continual quiet regulation as conditions shift and return. Over longer spans, these patterns leave traces that extend beyond individual moments. Posture changes subtly with age. Muscle tone redistributes. Joints adapt to repeated use rather than ideal alignment. Wear does not signal decline alone, but accumulated history. Older individuals move with measured efficiency, conserving energy while maintaining access to favored spaces. Activity remains present, though intensity moderates. Rest increases, not as withdrawal, but as recalibration. Sensory systems continue to function with high resolution, even as thresholds shift. Hearing sensitivity may narrow slightly. Vision adapts to changing light demands. Whiskers remain central to spatial awareness. Information continues to arrive through multiple channels, integrated without hierarchy. Experience modifies response. Familiar sounds no longer trigger orientation. Repeated patterns fade into background. Novelty reactivates attention. This filtering preserves stability by reducing unnecessary arousal. The nervous system remains economical, responding fully only when conditions warrant. Endocrine regulation supports this balance. Stress hormones rise briefly under challenge, then recede when predictability returns. Prolonged elevation disrupts appetite, grooming, and rest cycles. Recovery depends on environmental consistency rather than intervention. Familiar layouts, stable routines, and accessible retreats lower baseline strain. Physiology responds quietly, restoring equilibrium through gradual adjustment. Immune function follows similar rhythms. Inflammatory responses activate locally and resolve when threats pass. Energy allocation shifts toward maintenance during illness or injury, slowing movement and reducing exploration. These changes conserve resources while repair proceeds. Vocal output may decrease, posture tightens, grooming patterns alter. Such signals reflect internal state without broadcast. Recovery restores prior patterns without marking transition. Reproduction intersects with aging in complex ways. Fertility declines gradually, influenced by hormonal change and overall condition. Photoperiod continues to modulate cycles, but response strength varies. Older individuals invest less frequently but retain regulatory mechanisms. In managed environments, sterilization alters hormone profiles, influencing behavior and metabolism. Appetite may increase, activity decline, requiring further adjustment. Weight regulation becomes sensitive to intake and movement balance. Excess energy stores alter joint load and cardiovascular demand. Adaptation remains possible through moderated intake and maintained activity. Learning capacity persists across lifespan. Association formation slows slightly but remains effective. Memory of space and routine stays robust. Changes in environment may require longer adjustment periods, but integration occurs with repetition. Enrichment supports neural engagement. Varied textures, vertical pathways, and scent complexity maintain exploratory behavior without overstimulation. Boredom reflects underutilization of sensory capacity rather than emotional lack. Engagement restores balance by activating dormant pathways. Social interaction adapts with age. Tolerance often increases, conflict avoidance strengthens. Proximity may be accepted more readily when predictability holds. Communication remains subtle. Posture and timing convey boundaries. Withdrawal signals suffice without escalation. Coexistence stabilizes through mutual adjustment rather than dominance. Environmental noise influences regulation continuously. Sudden sounds elevate vigilance. Persistent background noise may suppress rest quality. Quiet zones support recovery by reducing sensory load. Light exposure affects daily rhythms. Irregular lighting disrupts activity-rest cycles. Consistent photoperiod stabilizes hormonal signaling. Temperature variation influences location choice. Warmth attracts during rest, cooler surfaces during activity. These preferences shift with season and condition. Adaptability remains central. When resources change, behavior reorganizes. When space contracts, movement becomes more vertical. When novelty appears, exploration rises briefly, then subsides. Nothing fixes permanently. Patterns remain fluid within constraint. Across households and habitats, these animals demonstrate the same underlying logic. Regulation through sensing, sensing through structure, structure shaped by repeated interaction. No internal narrative directs behavior. No goal persists beyond immediate alignment. Continuity arises because systems remain open to input and capable of adjustment. Life unfolds as a sequence of calibrated responses rather than decisions. Movement slows or accelerates. Attention sharpens or softens. Rest deepens or fragments. Each shift reflects present conditions layered over history. The organism continues to function not by striving, but by remaining compatible with change. Across shared spaces, interaction with other species adds further layers of adjustment. Cohabitation does not erase independence. It reshapes timing, distance, and signaling. Proximity is negotiated through routines rather than rules. Approach and withdrawal establish boundaries that remain flexible. Physical contact occurs selectively, often initiated and ended without ceremony. Tolerance builds through predictability, not insistence. Observation plays a central role. Subtle changes in posture, breathing, and orientation provide information about the surrounding environment and its occupants. Response follows without delay when patterns repeat. Unfamiliar movement draws attention. Familiar sequences fade into background. This selective awareness conserves energy and reduces unnecessary activation. Feeding locations, resting sites, and travel paths become embedded through repetition. Deviation prompts reassessment, not distress, unless change persists. Learning operates continuously but quietly. Association replaces instruction. Outcomes shape future behavior through reinforcement or withdrawal. Memory favors spatial and contextual detail. Locations where food appeared, where warmth accumulated, or where disturbance occurred remain accessible long after the event. Recall does not require conscious retrieval. Presence alone activates recognition. This capacity supports efficient navigation and resource use in both confined and open environments. Adaptability to urban settings reflects this same foundation. Noise, artificial light, and altered food availability modify activity patterns without dismantling underlying regulation. Hunting behavior persists even when food arrives reliably. Stalking, pouncing, and carrying objects satisfy motor sequences and manage arousal. Completion of the sequence matters more than consumption. Interruption may lead to repetition rather than frustration. The behavior regulates internal state by cycling tension and release. This regulation extends to interaction with objects. Batting, chasing, and climbing serve as outlets for sensory motor integration. Vertical access remains especially important. Elevated surfaces provide visual oversight and reduce perceived risk. Height offers distance without isolation. From above, movement below becomes predictable. This predictability lowers baseline vigilance. Preference for elevation appears across contexts, reflecting inherited strategies rather than learned preference. Physiological rhythms continue to align with environmental cues. Light remains a primary regulator. Changes in day length influence activity, appetite, and coat density. Seasonal shedding follows photoperiod more closely than temperature, preparing insulation in advance of need. Circadian rhythms persist even in controlled environments, maintained by internal clocks distributed across tissues. Feeding times, light exposure, and temperature modulate these rhythms without overriding them. Disruption occurs when cues conflict. Irregular schedules elevate stress markers and fragment rest. Consistency restores alignment gradually. Health reflects the cumulative outcome of these adjustments. Body condition responds to intake, movement, and hormonal state. Imbalance emerges slowly, often unnoticed until structure changes. Excess weight alters gait, joint load, and respiratory effort. Lean condition preserves agility, but increases vulnerability during scarcity. Regulation seeks middle ground through behavioral modification rather than rapid correction. Illness introduces temporary reorganization. Appetite decreases, activity slows, warmth is sought. Immune response reallocates energy toward repair. These shifts reverse as recovery progresses, leaving little trace beyond altered sensitivity. Grooming, posture, and engagement return to baseline through repetition, not announcement. End-of-life changes follow similar patterns. Activity narrows, rest expands, exploration declines. Sensory engagement remains present, though thresholds adjust. Familiar routines continue to provide stability. Withdrawal increases as energy reserves limit engagement. This transition occurs without signaling completion. Continuity persists until regulation can no longer sustain integration. Beyond the individual, population dynamics reflect aggregated adjustment. Survival depends on alignment between behavior, physiology, and environment. Variability within the species ensures persistence across diverse conditions. Some individuals thrive in dense settings, others require space. Some respond quickly to change, others slowly. This range buffers the group against uniform failure. Domestication has not removed this diversity. It has layered new contexts onto ancient regulatory systems. The result remains a small predator finely tuned to gradients of light, sound, motion, and availability. Nothing in this system aims at expression or meaning. Function emerges through constraint and repetition. Sensing informs response. Response reshapes structure. Structure biases future sensing. The loop continues without direction. Activity rises and settles. Attention sharpens and softens. Rest fragments and deepens. The organism remains present within changing conditions, regulated not by intention, but by continuous adjustment as the environment shifts around it. Within confined environments, these regulatory patterns compress rather than disappear. Space narrows, but gradients remain. Light shifts across walls and floors. Sound reflects and diffuses. Air currents carry scent information along predictable paths. The animal adapts by refining movement rather than expanding range. Travel becomes efficient, routes repeat, pauses align with vantage points. Corners, thresholds, and elevated edges gain importance as reference markers. Memory anchors behavior, reducing exploratory cost. Repetition stabilizes internal state, allowing rapid detection of deviation. When furniture moves or objects appear, investigation resumes briefly. Once mapped, novelty dissolves into background. This mapping is not visual alone. Scent, texture, and airflow contribute equally. Surfaces retain chemical traces that persist longer than visual impressions. Rubbing deposits familiar markers, blending body chemistry with environment. This does not claim ownership. It reduces uncertainty by aligning space with internal sensory expectations. Auditory landscapes shape behavior as well. Low-frequency vibrations pass through structures, while sharp sounds fragment attention. Ears rotate to localize origin, then settle once pattern repeats. Constant noise may elevate baseline vigilance, fragmenting rest. Quieter intervals allow deeper recovery. Rest itself remains adaptive. Positions change to regulate temperature, pressure, and exposure. Curling conserves heat. Elongation releases it. Proximity to walls provides boundary feedback. Open spaces increase visual demand. Sleep phases alternate between light and deeper states, maintaining readiness without exhaustion. Dreams, if present, leave no trace in behavior. What persists is physical calibration. Feeding routines integrate smoothly into this system. Timing matters more than quantity. Irregular delivery increases anticipation and vigilance. Consistent availability reduces scanning behavior. Intake remains regulated by internal cues rather than external prompting. Excess food does not override sensory control immediately. Gradual imbalance alters movement and posture before appetite shifts. Correction occurs slowly through reduced activity or selective intake when possible. Hydration follows similar logic. Water sources become fixed points within spatial memory. Drinking remains brief and precise. Preference may form for flowing or fresh sources due to sensory clarity rather than necessity. Cleanliness affects engagement. Contaminants alter scent and texture, discouraging use without cognitive evaluation. Grooming reinforces bodily awareness. Each stroke recalibrates fur position, skin sensitivity, and temperature perception. Loose hair removal prevents sensory interference. Oil redistribution maintains insulation and waterproofing. Grooming also functions as a regulatory pause, lowering arousal after stimulation. Excessive repetition signals imbalance, often linked to environmental instability or restricted outlets. Play substitutes for absent challenges. Objects that move unpredictably reintroduce controlled variability. Pursuit sequences activate motor circuits and sensory integration. Success matters less than engagement. Repetition completes internal cycles, reducing residual tension. Absence of such outlets may lead to redirected behaviors, not through intent, but through unmet regulatory demand. Social proximity adds further modulation. Coexistence with humans introduces large, slow-moving elements into the environment. Their patterns become part of the sensory background. Footsteps, breathing rhythms, and daily schedules provide temporal structure. Deviation attracts attention without alarm unless persistence suggests instability. Physical contact remains optional. Approach occurs when internal thresholds permit. Withdrawal follows once stimulation accumulates. Tolerance grows through predictability, not frequency. Vocal output increases in this interspecies context. Sounds elicit response where posture may not. Pitch and duration adjust through learning. Effectiveness reinforces use. Silence remains default outside this interaction. Health maintenance integrates seamlessly. Minor injuries prompt localized adjustment. Weight shifts off affected limbs. Activity reduces temporarily. Healing proceeds without overt display. Recovery restores previous patterns gradually. Veterinary intervention introduces unfamiliar stimuli. Handling, scent, and restraint elevate arousal. Post-event behavior often includes extended grooming and withdrawal as sensory equilibrium reestablishes. Adaptation follows through repetition rather than reassurance. Over months and years, these cycles define temperament. What appears as personality reflects stable regulatory thresholds shaped by genetics and experience. Some individuals tolerate variation easily. Others require narrow bands of predictability. Neither state implies preference or emotion. They represent different parameter settings within the same biological framework. Adjustment remains possible throughout life. Thresholds shift with age, health, and environment. Flexibility persists as long as energy and sensory capacity allow. When limits approach, behavior simplifies, activity narrows, rest dominates, engagement reduces. This contraction reflects conservation, not resignation. Regulation continues until integration can no longer be sustained. Beyond individual environments, the same principles operate wherever these animals exist. Farms, cities, forests, and homes impose different constraints. Sensing adapts, movement reorganizes, timing shifts, underlying structure remains unchanged. A small carnivore tuned for efficiency, silence, and responsiveness continues to operate within whatever gradients surround it. Light still defines rhythm. Sound still outlines space. Scent still carries history. Response follows sensing without commentary. Structure holds until it must change. The system remains active, economical, and quietly persistent, shaped by conditions that never fully settle and therefore never fully conclude. Over extended time, the cumulative effect of these adjustments becomes visible not as intention, but as pattern. Daily paths wear into memory before they ever mark the floor. Preferred resting positions repeat until muscle tone and joint angles subtly adapt. The body settles into efficiencies shaped by repetition. Nothing is optimized for maximum output. Everything is tuned for sufficiency. Enough strength to move, enough awareness to respond, enough rest to recover. Excess carries cost. and restraint preserves flexibility. This economy defines longevity more than performance. Sensory thresholds continue to recalibrate as conditions shift. Light sensitivity adjusts with age and exposure. Darker environments increase reliance on sound and vibration. Brighter ones narrow pupils and sharpen motion detection. Hearing remains finely directional even as absolute range changes. Scent retains its importance throughout life, anchoring familiarity when other inputs fluctuate. These channels do not compete, they overlap, allowing redundancy when one weakens. Regulation depends on this overlap. When vision falters slightly, whiskers and memory compensate. When sound becomes less precise, posture and distance increase safety margins. Adaptation occurs without announcement. Behavior simply changes shape. Nutrition plays a quiet but persistent role. Consistent access supports stable weight and coat condition. Irregularity introduces variability that the system absorbs if thresholds are not exceeded. Long-term imbalance expresses itself structurally rather than behaviorally at first. Gait alters, rest lengthens, engagement narrows. Correction remains possible while energy reserves allow adjustment. Once exceeded, options reduce. The system simplifies to conserve function. This simplification is not failure. It is prioritization under constraint. Throughout life, interaction with environment remains reciprocal. The animal alters space through movement, scent, and wear. Space alters the animal through feedback and limitation. Neither dominates. Both participate in the same loop. Routines emerge because they reduce uncertainty, not because they are preferred. Novelty attracts attention only until it becomes predictable. Predictability lowers metabolic cost. This principle applies across contexts, from solitary outdoor ranges to shared indoor spaces. Social proximity continues to modulate behavior without overriding independence. Tolerance expands or contracts based on density and resource stability. Coexistence remains a balance of distance and timing. Direct interaction is negotiated moment by moment. Withdrawal carries no negative weight. It simply restores equilibrium. Communication remains understated. Posture precedes sound. Sound appears when posture alone fails to resolve distance. Silence resumes once alignment returns. Nothing lingers. Responses fade when stimuli fade. Memory retains what matters, discards what does not. This selective retention preserves clarity. Cognitive load stays low because relevance filters input continuously. Learning never stops, but it slows. New associations require more repetition. Old ones remain stable. Adjustment remains possible because plasticity persists within bounds. End stages of life narrow these bounds further. Exploration reduces. Favored spaces dominate activity. Movement conserves energy. Rest occupies more time. Sensory engagement remains present but quieter. Regulation continues until available energy no longer supports integration across systems. When that threshold is reached, activity diminishes without disruption. There is no signal marking conclusion. Continuity simply thins. Beyond individuals, the species persists because this framework scales. Variation between individuals distributes risk. Some tolerate noise, others require stillness. Some adapt quickly, others slowly. This range ensures survival across changing conditions. Domestication has not altered the core design. It has only changed the gradients encountered. Artificial light replaces dawn. Human schedules overlay natural cycles. Food appears reliably. Space contracts, yet the same regulatory logic remains. Sensing informs response. Response reshapes structure. Structure biases future sensing. The loop continues without center or commentary. Light shifts across surfaces. Sound defines distance. Scent carries memory. Movement conserves energy. Rest restores capacity. Nothing resolves. Nothing concludes. The system remains present within change, adjusting quietly as long as gradients exist and energy continues to move through a body built not for excess, but for balance within an always variable world. As variability persists, so does the quiet capacity to remain aligned with it. No single sense dominates for long. Vision, hearing, scent, and touch trade prominence as conditions shift. When light fades, sound and vibration define space. When noise rises, posture and distance compensate. When scent trails disperse, memory fills the gap. This exchange prevents overload by distributing demand across systems. Regulation remains fluid, never fixed. Thresholds adjust subtly, keeping response proportional rather than absolute. Attention narrows and widens in cycles, conserving energy while preserving readiness. These cycles do not synchronize perfectly across the body. Different tissues operate on different timelines. Muscles recover quickly. Connective tissue adapts slowly. Neural circuits recalibrate continuously. Hormonal signals rise and fall over hours or days. The overlap of these rhythms produces stability without uniformity. Mismatch is not error, it is buffer. Feeding, movement, and rest align loosely rather than precisely. Small deviations absorb stress that rigid systems could not tolerate. Within this looseness, behavior appears calm, not because input is minimal, but because response remains measured. Sudden events register sharply, then dissolve if not repeated. Repetition alone reshapes baseline. This principle governs learning, memory, and habit formation alike. What returns becomes familiar. What fades loses influence. Over time, environments become readable fields of probability rather than sources of surprise. Navigation relies less on constant scanning and more on expectation refined by experience. Corners, heights, and pathways stabilize perception. Uncertainty contracts. Energy demand falls. This efficiency supports long-term persistence. Interaction with other animals follows the same logic. Proximity is evaluated through pattern, not intent. Repeated non-threatening presence lowers vigilance. Unpredictable movement elevates it. Distance adjusts accordingly. Communication remains implicit. Timing and spacing carry more information than sound. When sound appears, it serves to clarify boundaries rather than express state. Once alignment restores, silence resumes. Coexistence stabilizes through these micro-negotiations. No agreement is reached. Alignment simply holds until conditions change. Across seasons, physiological priorities shift gradually. Coat density follows light exposure. Appetite fluctuates with temperature and activity. Movement patterns adjust to available warmth and shelter. Internal clocks maintain rhythm even when external cues blur. Artificial light may extend activity, but internal regulation resists full override. Misalignment resolves slowly as cues repeat. Recovery favors consistency. Health reflects the sum of these processes, not the absence of challenge, but the capacity to absorb it. Minor disruptions resolve through redistribution. Major ones require time and energy. When reserves suffice, function returns. When they do not, behavior simplifies. Simplification preserves core operation at the expense of range. This trade-off extends lifespan by prioritizing integration over expression. Aging reveals this clearly. Thresholds narrow, variability decreases, but coherence remains as long as regulation continues. Rest deepens, movement conserves, engagement focuses on familiar zones. Sensory input remains meaningful even as volume declines. Continuity persists without declaration. At no point does the system seek completion. It responds, adjusts, and carries forward whatever structure remains viable. Beyond individuals, the same dynamics unfold at population scale. Densities shift, territories overlap or separate. Survival tracks alignment with available gradients. No directive governs outcomes. Persistence emerges through variation and redundancy. Some configurations endure where others do not. The species remains because difference spreads risk. Domestication has altered context, not mechanism. Homes replace fields, routines replace seasons. Yet sensing, regulation, and response operate as before. Light still organizes time. Sound still defines distance. Scent still anchors familiarity. Movement still balances energy and readiness. Rest still restores capacity. Nothing instructs the system to continue. Continuation occurs because energy flows and gradients remain. As long as that holds, adjustment proceeds quietly. Behavior reshapes itself moment by moment. Structure records what worked. Memory filters what mattered. Response follows sensing without commentary. The loop remains open, unfinished, capable of repeating without beginning and without end. Over repetition, even the smallest signals gain weight through persistence rather than intensity. A faint sound repeated daily becomes part of the background field. A slight draft across the floor defines a preferred resting site. Subtle differences in light angle determine where activity concentrates at certain hours. These cues do not demand attention, they shape probability. Behavior aligns gradually, reducing the need for constant evaluation. Efficiency emerges from familiarity, not from certainty. Uncertainty narrows as patterns stabilize. The body responds by lowering baseline vigilance. Muscles soften at rest. Breathing slows, yet readiness remains embedded, available without delay. This balance allows long periods of stillness without vulnerability. Stillness itself becomes functional, conserving energy while maintaining sensory access. Sensory organs never fully disengage. Thresholds rise, filtering noise. Relevant input passes through when conditions change. This filtering preserves clarity across long durations. Energy management remains central. Intake, expenditure, and storage shift continuously. Surplus is rare and temporary. Excess converts to mass that alters movement and load. Scarcity redirects focus toward maintenance. These shifts occur without abrupt transition. Weight changes slowly. Posture adapts. Gait adjusts. Correction unfolds over weeks rather than moments. Physiology favors gradual change because it preserves integration across systems. Rapid correction would fragment coordination. The same principle governs emotional arousal, though no emotion directs it. Arousal rises in response to novelty or threat, falls when patterns repeat. Sustained elevation drains resources. Withdrawal restores balance by limiting input. Hiding, elevation, and reduced movement serve this purpose. These behaviors do not signal avoidance. They regulate exposure. Once equilibrium returns, engagement resumes without residue. Social proximity continues to modulate internal state. Density increases sensory load. Spacing reduces it. Timing offsets interaction without isolation. These strategies maintain coexistence in shared environments. Tolerance remains conditional. It persists while predictability holds. When disrupted, distance reestablishes order. Communication remains minimal. Posture adjusts first. Sound follows only when necessary. Scent persists as a quiet record of presence. These layers prevent escalation by resolving ambiguity early. Reproduction and play remain linked to surplus. When energy allows, these activities expand. When it does not, they recede without loss of function. Play refines coordination and timing. Absence of play reflects constraint, not disinterest. Reproduction follows similar rules. Hormonal signals respond to light, temperature, and condition. Alignment triggers investment. Misalignment preserves resources. No future state is anticipated. Response remains grounded in present input weighted by history. This weighting distinguishes relevance from noise. Learning follows this rule. Associations strengthen with repetition, weaken without reinforcement. Memory remains economical, storing only what predicts outcome. Cognitive effort stays low because filtering precedes storage. Aging narrows this economy further. Fewer patterns compete for attention. Familiar routes dominate movement. Favored resting sites persist. Novelty registers briefly, then fades. This narrowing reduces energy demand and preserves function. End stages reflect maximum conservation. Activity contracts. Rest dominates. Sensing continues at reduced bandwidth. Integration holds until resources no longer support coordination. Then continuity thins without disruption. Beyond individuals, environments retain traces of this presence. Worn paths, compacted soil, familiar scent fields. These traces influence future behavior, closing feedback loops between organism and space. Regulation extends outward through these modifications. The environment becomes partially shaped to reduce uncertainty. In turn, this shaping alters available gradients. Adaptation remains reciprocal. No level controls the other. Across all contexts, the same pattern persists. Sensing informs adjustment. Adjustment reshapes structure. Structure filters future sensing. The loop operates without awareness or endpoint. Light shifts across surfaces. Sound outlines space. Scent carries history. Movement conserves energy. Rest restores capacity. Repetition stabilizes behavior. Variation introduces change. Nothing concludes. Nothing resolves. The system continues to align with whatever conditions remain, maintaining coherence through quiet, continuous adjustment as long as energy moves and gradients exist. As alignment continues, the surrounding world becomes less a collection of objects and more a field of reliable cues. Surfaces differ in temperature, texture, and scent, offering constant feedback without demanding attention. Flooring cools or warms through the day. Fabric holds residual heat longer than wood or stone. These differences guide rest locations subtly, reducing the need for trial and error. Paws register vibration before weight commits, confirming stability. Claws extend only when grip is required, preserving sharpness and minimizing wear. Movement remains deliberate even when rapid, because efficiency depends on control rather than speed alone. Acceleration occurs in short bursts, followed by immediate recovery. This pattern limits fatigue and preserves readiness across many cycles of activity. Respiration follows suit, rising briefly and settling quickly. Oxygen delivery matches momentary demand without overshoot. Cardiovascular rhythms remain responsive, supporting sudden effort without sustained strain. This balance allows frequent repetition without cumulative depletion. Sensory processing mirrors this economy. Input streams remain open, but processing depth varies. Familiar sounds pass through shallow filters. Unfamiliar ones trigger rapid orientation. The head turns, ears pivot, posture tightens. Once assessed, the system relaxes if no further change follows. This rapid rise and release prevents lingering activation. Stress hormones peak briefly, then return to baseline when predictability resumes. Prolonged elevation occurs only when disruption persists. Recovery then depends on environmental stability rather than active intervention. Quiet spaces, consistent routines, and accessible retreat points lower baseline arousal gradually. Light continues to structure internal timing even indoors. Sun angles shift across windows, floors, and walls, creating moving reference points that mark the day. Artificial lighting may blur these signals, but internal rhythms remain partially entrained, resisting complete override. Feeding, grooming, and rest cluster around these cues, maintaining temporal coherence. When cues conflict, activity fragments until repetition restores alignment. Seasonal change introduces slower modulation. Coat density adjusts in response to photoperiod. Shedding increases or slows ahead of temperature shifts, preparing insulation in advance. Appetite follows similar trends, rising or falling with energy demand. Body mass fluctuates within narrow ranges when regulation remains intact. Deviation accumulates slowly, signaling imbalance before function fails. Correction relies on time and consistency rather than immediate change. Social environments layer additional complexity. Shared spaces require continuous micro-adjustment of distance and timing. Coexistence stabilizes through routine. Individuals pass without interaction, acknowledging presence without engagement. Contact occurs selectively, often brief, ending before overstimulation builds. Tolerance grows not from closeness, but from reliable behavior patterns. Unpredictability disrupts this balance, increasing vigilance and withdrawal until new patterns establish. Communication remains understated throughout. Posture and movement convey state more efficiently than sound. Sound appears primarily when interacting with humans, where posture alone may not translate across species. Vocal patterns adapt through reinforcement, becoming more varied than those used among conspecifics. Silence resumes once alignment is restored. Health maintenance remains embedded in daily activity. Minor discomfort alters posture and movement before overt signs appear. Weight shifts redistribute load. Activity reduces temporarily. Healing proceeds quietly, supported by rest and stable conditions. Grooming patterns adjust to accommodate sensitivity, then normalize through repetition. Veterinary interventions introduce unfamiliar stimuli that elevate arousal briefly. Extended grooming and withdrawal follow as sensory equilibrium reestablishes. Recovery unfolds without marker, visible only as gradual return of prior routines. Across years, these accumulated adjustments define a stable mode of being. Temperament reflects consistent thresholds shaped by genetics, experience, and environment. Some individuals maintain broad tolerance bands, others operate within narrower margins. Neither state implies preference or deficiency. They represent different configurations within the same regulatory framework. Adaptability persists as long as energy and sensory capacity allow. When limits approach, behavior simplifies, movement narrows, rest expands, engagement focuses on familiar zones. This contraction preserves core function by reducing demand. Regulation continues until integration can no longer be sustained. Beyond individual lives, the same logic extends outward. Spaces retain traces of repeated movement. Scent fields mark familiarity. Paths form through repetition. These modifications alter future sensing, closing feedback loops between organism and environment. Regulation therefore extends beyond the body, shaping surroundings in ways that reduce uncertainty. The world becomes partially structured by presence, and presence adapts to that structure in return. No intent guides this exchange. No outcome is sought. Continuity persists because alignment remains possible. Light still shifts. Sound still outlines space. Scent still carries history. Movement conserves energy. Rest restores capacity. The loop continues, open-ended and stable, repeating without beginning or conclusion as long as conditions allow adjustment to proceed quietly and without interruption. Over time, This quiet exchange between body and surroundings settles into a steady rhythm that rarely draws attention to itself. Activity does not seek novelty, yet it remains capable of responding when novelty appears. The balance lies in readiness without pursuit. Muscles remain toned but relaxed. Joints stay mobile through frequent low-intensity movement rather than strain. Stretching appears spontaneously, elongating tissue and restoring circulation without planning. These motions occur where space allows, often near resting areas, reinforcing familiarity between movement and place. The floor, the window ledge, the back of a chair all become part of a known physical map. This map is not visual alone. It is tactile, thermal, and olfactory, layered through repeated contact. Scent traces persist longer than sound, anchoring memory when environments change subtly. Cleaning or rearrangement temporarily disrupts this field, prompting renewed inspection until alignment returns. Investigation is brief and methodical, guided by scent and touch more than sight. Once the new configuration stabilizes, attention withdraws again. Sensory load decreases, and the system settles back into efficiency. Feeding remains one of the few predictable interruptions. Anticipation builds slowly, guided by internal timing and external cues rather than fixed expectation. Hunger signals rise gradually, avoiding urgency. When food arrives, consumption proceeds without haste, followed by grooming and rest that redistribute energy and restore equilibrium. This sequence repeats with minor variation, maintaining internal coherence across days. Water intake remains modest but regular, shaped by habit and sensory preference. Freshness, location, and accessibility influence use without conscious evaluation. Physiology supports this restraint. Kidneys concentrate urine efficiently, conserving fluid. Adaptation to limited water availability persists even in abundance. Thermal comfort continues to guide positioning. Warm surfaces attract during rest, cooler zones during alert states. Sunlight becomes a moving resource, briefly occupied, then abandoned as angles shift. These choices reduce metabolic cost by aligning body temperature with surroundings. Social presence remains a variable rather than a constant. Interaction occurs when internal thresholds permit, ending when stimulation accumulates. Proximity is tolerated as long as movement and sound remain predictable. Unpredictability restores distance. This modulation prevents escalation and preserves autonomy. Vocal expression appears primarily in this interspecies context, shaped by learning rather than innate pattern. Sound becomes a tool when posture alone fails to achieve adjustment. Once response occurs, silence resumes. Learning continues to refine these exchanges, strengthening effective signals and discarding others. Over months and years, such refinement produces stable interaction styles that appear deliberate but arise from reinforcement alone. Health and regulation remain inseparable. Digestive efficiency supports stable energy levels. Metabolic rate balances intake and expenditure without excess. Immune responses activate locally and resolve when threats pass, rarely demanding attention. Discomfort alters behavior subtly before pathology emerges. Reduced movement, altered grooming, or changed resting preference signal internal shifts without overt display. Recovery follows the same path in reverse, guided by time and consistency rather than intervention. Aging gradually narrows available margins. Reaction speed softens, recovery takes longer, tolerance for disruption decreases, yet core regulation persists. Routines become more valuable, not as habit, but as scaffolding that lowers cognitive and metabolic demand. Familiar spaces support continued function when adaptability declines. Exploration gives way to observation. Stillness increases, but awareness remains present. This narrowing reflects prioritization under constraint, preserving coherence as capacity diminishes. Beyond individual experience, these patterns scale outward. Populations adjust density and distribution according to resource stability. Some individuals thrive near humans, others remain peripheral. Variation ensures persistence across changing conditions. No single strategy dominates indefinitely. Domestication overlays predictability without erasing ancestral design. Artificial light replaces dawn, scheduled feeding replaces hunting, but sensory systems and regulatory loops remain unchanged. Alignment still depends on gradients, repetition, and constraint. Nothing instructs the system to adapt. Adaptation occurs because misalignment carries cost. The body shifts until cost decreases. Movement and rest rebalance. Attention narrows and widens. Structure records what reduced strain. Memory filters what mattered. Response follows sensing without reflection. The loop continues. Light moves across surfaces. Sound defines distance. Scent anchors familiarity. Energy flows in small, efficient cycles. Coherence persists without oversight. The system remains present, adaptive, and open, continuing quietly within whatever conditions surround it, neither concluding nor beginning, but maintaining balance through constant, unremarkable adjustment. As conditions remain variable, regulation never settles into a fixed state. It stays responsive, adjusting in small increments that rarely draw notice. Minor changes in light intensity alter where attention gathers. Shifts in sound redistribute alertness without prompting movement. Faint temperature differences guide posture and positioning throughout the day. These adjustments occur continuously, layered over one another, creating a dynamic equilibrium that favors efficiency over precision. The body does not seek perfect alignment, only workable alignment that minimizes cost. This tolerance allows persistence across environments that change subtly from hour to hour. Internal systems mirror this flexibility. Blood flow redistributes with posture and activity. Digestion accelerates or slows based on demand. Hormone levels fluctuate within narrow bands, supporting readiness without excess. Nothing spikes without reason, and nothing returns instantly. Time smooths response, preventing oscillation. This smoothing allows stability even when input varies. Sensory processing remains selective. Novelty draws attention briefly, then fades as patterns repeat. Relevance depends on consequence rather than intensity. A loud sound that repeats without effect becomes background. A quiet change that predicts outcome retains influence. This hierarchy preserves clarity by filtering noise. Memory supports this process by retaining associations that proved useful, while allowing others to decay. Forgetting is not loss, but maintenance. It prevents saturation and preserves responsiveness. Movement continues to express this economy. Paths repeat because they work, not because alternatives are unseen. Efficiency arises from familiarity, reducing energy expenditure and risk. When obstacles appear, routes adjust temporarily, then return once removed. Flexibility overlays stability rather than replacing it. Grooming persists as both maintenance and regulation. Each stroke recalibrates sensory input, removing interference and restoring consistency. Fur condition influences temperature control and tactile feedback. Its upkeep remains essential to overall balance. Excessive grooming signals increased internal demand for regulation, often linked to environmental instability or limited outlets. Restoration of predictability reduces this demand without instruction. Social contexts continue to shape thresholds. Density increases sensory load. Spacing reduces it. Individuals negotiate coexistence through timing and distance rather than dominance. Routines allow shared use of space without conflict. When routines break, vigilance rises until new patterns stabilize. Communication remains sparse. Posture carries primary information. Sound appears only when posture fails to achieve adjustment. Silence returns once alignment holds. Learning refines these interactions over time, strengthening effective signals and discarding ineffective ones. Health reflects cumulative success of these processes. Stable routines support consistent intake, movement, and rest. Disruption increases metabolic cost by elevating vigilance and fragmenting recovery. Resilience depends not on eliminating disruption, but on restoring predictability afterward. Aging continues to narrow margins. Reaction times lengthen slightly. Recovery slows. Tolerance for novelty decreases. Yet regulation remains active. Behavior simplifies to preserve core function. Favored locations dominate movement. Familiar cues support orientation. This simplification conserves energy and maintains coherence as capacity declines. Exploration yields to observation, not through loss of curiosity, but through prioritization. Awareness remains present, though engagement narrows. End stages reflect maximum conservation. Movement minimizes. Rest expands. Sensory input remains meaningful but reduced. Integration persists until energy no longer supports coordination across systems. There is no marker for this transition. Continuity thins gradually. Beyond individuals, environments retain imprints of repeated regulation. Worn surfaces, familiar scent fields, established paths. These imprints alter future behavior, reducing uncertainty and metabolic cost. Regulation thus extends beyond the body into the surrounding space. Environment and organism co-create stability through repetition. Neither controls the other. Both adapt through feedback. Across all contexts, the same pattern holds. Sensing informs adjustment. Adjustment reshapes structure. Structure filters future sensing. The loop operates without awareness or endpoint. Light continues to shift. Sound outlines space. Scent anchors familiarity. Movement balances energy and readiness. Rest restores capacity. Repetition stabilizes behavior. Variation introduces change. The system remains open, adaptive, and quietly persistent, continuing to align with whatever conditions remain, without instruction, without conclusion, and without need for resolution as long as energy flows and gradients persist.